Hi, this is John Ricciuti at Mainline Television. And my guest today is Andrea Giovino. She's the author of Divorce from the Mob. Andrea, can you tell me a little bit about your life and your family?
I grew up in Brooklyn, predominantly Italian area, Bensonhurst, and I'm one of 10 children and a very poor background. And many of the people in the area, because it was so much poverty there, were criminals. My family, none of us had education, so everyone had to go out in the streets and strive in crime, more or less, to make a living. My mom was a very strong Italian woman. She was one of 16 children, also poverty. And my mom, to make extra money, would run card games in the basement of our home. So 5, 6, 7 years old, I was very comfortable with those types of men. That's all. Basically, that's what I knew. It was my comfort zone. Growing up with these types of men, um, basically, I knew a lot of them my whole life. My first husband, I was a teenage mom. So at I was pregnant at 17, had the baby at 18, and my dad said you had to get married. He was 25. So that lasted a year. It was horrible. My second marriage was to a very successful businessman, nothing to do with organized crime. I wanted to have a normal life, but I kind of really didn't know what normal was. I had no idea what normal is. So he was extremely abusive, physically abusive. And after 3 years, I had a child with him and then divorced him. The third husband was Irish, street guy, John Fogarty. I had 2 children with him. And I was living in Queens at the time. He was in Staten Island. And he was running cocaine back and forth from Miami to New York. And then again, for me, I thought that was normal because that's how I saw my whole life people making a living. John was a full blown addict. I didn't really know too much about addiction back then. And I became entrenched or enmeshed in the insanity of the lifestyle of trying to chase him to get clean or to try to get a better life. And the whole thing just took us down a really ugly road.
Tell me what your connection was to the drug world.
I was the bank. I think that with that, I'm not going to blame him. I knew about that before he got involved with me. I was more or less knowing how to make money. So I put money up for, I lent money to drug dealers, and in turn, they built that with drugs. So I was more or less conspiring on the back end as a banker and making money off of it. I think it was a business at the time that brings you back a lot of return. So I saw an opportunity. People came to me and said, we need money to get this off the ground. And I said, okay, take this much from it and roll it over and get it out on the streets and do it. The feds, when they came in and arrested me, was more or less, they didn't really want me, they wanted them. Because in the case when you have kilos and kilos of cocaine and major amounts, 100 pounds of marijuana, bodies were turning up, people were getting killed.
So, how did you get to this leafy suburban town in Pennsylvania?
So someone got arrested in Pennsylvania by DEA, and then they, that person cooperated, and then everybody got dragged into the case. I was arrested for giving instructions on wiretap. I was arrested for saying the money that was lent out, but they prepped this guy to hold back, don't pay the money, don't give the drugs, because they had a tactic knowing they're going to come for you, and they're going to the phones are tapped, and that's exactly what happened. I gave instructions to my brother, said the guy wasn't paying the money, and it was at the time $20,000. And I said, I don't care what you do, go up there. I don't care if you have to break his head, go in his house, do whatever you got to do, but get my money. I was arrested for that. After that, when I was arrested, my husband was already doing time in Tennessee for 100 pounds of marijuana that he had gotten caught with. And my brother was a 3-time felon. So they knew that if they arrested me, what better than John Fogarty and John Silvestri to cooperate? And that's exactly what happened. They cooperated, and I was released from the case. I wasn't charged. I had no felony, no nothing. I was just released. And with that release, I was relocated to Pennsylvania, but not witness protection. Witness protection is a whole different ID, name, social, children's names are changed. My relocation was DEA and FBI funded the money for 18 months to relocate me and set me up for getting out of New York because there was a threat on my life that was a real threat. It was very, very difficult for me. It was so foreign for me coming from New York, from Brooklyn, being around all Italians, and then being stuck in an area where there are no Italians, not knowing anybody. I think the hardest thing for me is when I went to the supermarket and I looked around and I was like, why are there all men in the supermarket? I thought, were they all gay? Because men where I come from don't do that. The woman does everything. Like, what are they doing here? And I remember the feds would always come and check up on me every week to make sure everything was okay. They did that for 6 months. And I asked them, I said, why did you put me in a gay area? And they said, why would you say that? I said, because in the supermarket, all the men are grocery shopping. And he goes, because that's what normal America is. The husbands participate. They help. And even with open school week, I remember all the fathers were going. Where I come from, they don't do that. The wife does it all. The wife holds the fort together. The wife goes out shopping. The wife has all the pressure on her. The husband's out in the street, but the wife is holding it all together. And people really don't know that. They think like when they watch the films or they see Sopranos that it's a very glamorous life. It's not glamorous by no means. It's a horrible life. It's a horrible life. No. Blend in? No. How could I blend in? I was so different from all these people. The women would, at that time, were all wearing the long dresses and they all had the same haircut, a bob cut. I'm right out of Brooklyn. No, I did not fit in. I had no job. That's what was very hard. 7th grade education, no job. The feds had to fund me, and they originally said they were going to give me a lump sum of money. That never happened. They only funded me for a year, and then I fought tooth and nail for 18 months. And they did, but I really had to fight with them for that. And after that, I started my own business, a cleaning company and working with new home detail cleaning with builders. I did also, I would do for wealthy families that were more like a caregiver, or do their parties and make food because I'm an excellent cook and baker. So basically I did that too. I did everything that I grew up learning, as far as I utilized that on how to make money, where catering to usually we would talk to cater to the man, but catering to other families, cooking, cleaning, and that's how I supported my children for many years. My street smarts has got me as far as I've gotten today, which I then decided to write a book. And with that opened up other doors for me to tell my story, to try to enlighten not just Italian culture, all women, that when you stay with a man that's doing the wrong thing and you're lured into that, eventually there's going to be major downfall. I'm a survivor and I make the best of everything that's thrown at me. I got involved with my local church. I involved the kids with sports, all kinds of sports. I utilized everything I knew growing up to fit in. My children never went without anything. That at that time, a lot of the moms of who my children went to school with were all going in the summertime to like the country club for swimming and all of that. Bucks County Country Club, I'll never forget. And of course, I couldn't afford it. So I went to the owner of the club and I asked to speak to him. And I told him my situation. I said, I can't afford to pay the fee to come here. You know, I'm here from New York, but all I want is to be able to take my kids to swim in the pool a couple times a week to fit in. He was wonderful. Wonderful. Of course, of course. And he gave me a free membership. With that, that summer, I was online getting food for the kids. And who do I run into? I'll never forget. The head of the DEA from Philadelphia, Frank Morera. I'll never forget. Because he knew I was relocated. He looks up, he's with his wife and his kids, and he goes, Andrea? I go, yeah. He goes, what are you doing here? I go, same as you. I'm a member. Now, I haven't dated really in years. I'm divorced 5 years and I have not dated at all because I don't trust. I recently, just recently, over the past couple months, started dating. And it's difficult for me because it has to be someone that is not intimidated by me or my background. And it's a turnoff to me when men will like act scared of my background or bring up my background because we're talking almost 30 years ago. That's not the person I am today. So I date minimal. I mean, this is like the first person I'm dating in years. Change is something that is extremely hard to do. It's a lot of work, it's a lot of soul searching, it's a lot of digging deep down to be a better person, to want to be a better person, to be able to be humble, to be able to understand, to be honest. And I had to work years, not just with my priest, in therapy, and to understand why I was choosing the path I chose and where I'm at now. It's a lot of work, and a lot of men, it's hard for them to even go into therapy. It's very hard for them to change. They come out, and sometimes I believe, from what I've witnessed and what I've seen, when they go to prison, they just come out smarter. They're around criminals all day long. You know, coming from the area that I came from, it's either kill or be killed, or you'll get raked over. You know, it's called survival. So when you're in that and you're running with those people, you're either, you know, it's either fight or flight. And if you're not a fighter, you're going to get raked over the coals or you're going to wind up on a slab. So yeah, I mean, the script has already been written. I was just critiquing it this past, as I've sent to you. I was just recently finished critiquing the script that was sent to me. And it will be a film. I'm just not quite sure right now if I want to do a series for Netflix or do one film. And I'll be out in California in September and we'll make that decision. But I think that from what I've learned by working with people in Hollywood is that it's a strong woman's role. Women in Hollywood would fight for the role. I am who I am. You know, I've had and still have a lot of respect in the streets from very high profile organized crime people because they knew that I was raised that way. I knew the ropes. I knew how to make money. I knew how to keep my mouth shut. When you see something, you don't say it. But I think we're in an era right now that no one gets away with anything. So, if five guys get arrested, I guarantee four of them are going to jump and cooperate. That's just the way it goes. Everybody makes a deal for themselves. It's not like when I got arrested. Today, everybody cooperates. I do know people that are doing life that never cooperated. I think that a lot of people ask me that what would be the film that would be true to life, and I think the film truest to life is Goodfellas. Goodfellas nailed it. It's exactly how it is. The characters, you know, the way Frank Vincent was, the way Joe Pesci was, the way Lorraine Bracco, out of control like that, going, trying to chase the husband, find the husband, fighting. He's got the girlfriend. That is all true. That is all true. It is so, and most of them, everyone I know, I'm going to say, they all cheat. They all cheat. And cheating to men like that is really nothing to them. Because when you have men that are committing murders, I've had men tell me, "What is you going to say? I'm cheating? What is cheating? Cheating to me, it's normal. It's going and having sex. That's what it is. It's not, when you compare that on that level, that's what they do." I think Camilla Soprano. I've actually been compared to her in lots of magazines and shows and all that. I think Camilla Soprano was very strong individual. I think that at the end, she really is trying to develop herself. She wanted not to be Tony Soprano's wife. She wants to see people to see her for Camilla Soprano, just like there were the episodes when she was trying to get her daughter into a good college because she didn't want her kids to have the life that she had. And that's kind of where I was always at. I didn't want my kids to go through what I had been through as a child or growing up in that. And, I feel at this point in their lives, I've done a good job with them. I'm going to say it's important to not depend on a man. It's important to have your own identity. It's important, this is what I would say to my daughter or to women out there, that when you depend on someone else other than yourself, you're going to be disappointed. So I think that, yes, it is important for me to be a powerhouse and be strong and not depend on anybody and be able to deal with whatever comes my way. I think the Me Too movement is really huge and it's big and it's very empowering for women, because I think that for many, many years women did hush hush and keep things quiet and maybe were embarrassed to come forward to say how they were treated by men or exactly what all the stories are that were coming forward. And I think that, it's a time now where women have a voice. When I grew up and back in even in that era, your voice is very limited. So to have a voice, to be able to speak up, stand out, and have your own self identity is a very big deal today. Nothing intimidates me. I can walk in a room in Hollywood or in New York with A-list celebrities, and I will guarantee you when I walk out of that room, they're going to say, "Who is that?" That's how confident I am. But that was a lot of work, a lot of hard work. So it's confidence, it's charm, it's charisma, and there's nothing I can't do. If you tell me, "Oh, you're not going to be able to do that. You can't get a book published. You're not an author," I will prove to you, yes, I will. That's how much drive and determination I have. Yes, I will. And I did. And I proved that.